Hello and welcome along to TGP Has a Podcast. Now, we've got a slightly different guest for our season finale than we originally anticipated, as Joe Sayre decided to go to ground. However, we've got someone who's got quite a story to tell. You'll find out as we go through the episode with Corey. Now, Corey has had a racing career with TGP only in TGP 1 and TGP 2. However, he's been involved in many controversial moments and some that he was more than happy to give us a little bit more information about. It's definitely one you will not want to miss, and I hope you enjoy it just as much as I did in recording it. Here he is, Corey. So, Corey, thank you very much for joining us on what is season 5 of TGP Has a Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on. I think we're going to have quite a few things to talk about as well, by the looks of my notes in front of me. So, really appreciate you coming on. We're recording quite late in the evening, I must say. So, forgive me if at any point it sounds like either of us are whispering. But are you looking forward to being on the podcast?
Yeah, Dom mentioned it to me. I think must be about 2 years ago now. I remember Softy done his, and he had a few bad things to say about me. So ever since then, I'm just yeah, waiting to get on.
Waiting for your chance to retaliate, so to speak.
100%. Yeah, a few other
That's
things I want to talk about as well. So be a
That's what we
spicy
like to
one.
hear. That's what we like to hear. We like a sort of spicy one to end the series. But I guess it sort of be interesting to know really how it was that you came across us. Really, I mean, where, how, I suppose, so to speak.
If I can remember, I was on holiday. I was on a family holiday. Um, and being a Liverpool fan, I followed. I don't know if you remember him, Audio Gorilla at the time, Josh. He was
Yes.
massive on Liverpool Twitter, and I remember he posted a clip of him league racing, and I think Jamie Mabata was tagged in it, and I just watched the clip, and he tagged TGP in it, and I thought that's something I want to get into because I never had any experience league racing before. I barely played any F1 games to be honest. And I just messaged Dom at the time, and he said I had to set some time trial laps. And that's when I got placed in TGP2, and it all started from there.
And you were well, you're rather successful, I think we could say, in TGP2. You were eventually season 16 champion, which was on F1 2016, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah,
Um, But you picked up a couple of wins, a couple of podiums in his debut season, in your debut season, which was season 14. What do you think? How do you think you sort of found the step into league racing? Because this was obviously your first step, by the sounds of it.
yeah. My first race week, I think, was Hungary and Germany, I think. And I remember in Germany, I accidentally forgot to brake at the hairpin at turn four, is it?
It's good
And
stuff.
uh, Dom was the one that I took out. So it was a good
Great,
start.
great first
Uh,
impression.
yeah, yeah, he messaged me saying any more of that, and you won't be racing again. Um, but yeah, it was really weird to get used to, especially like the longer races. Because when I did play F1, it'd be like the five lappers online and stuff like that. Even career mode, I never really done anything longer than 5 laps. So getting used to like the strategy and learning how the tires like reacted to wear and stuff was a bit weird. But as I got used to it, just it all come together. And I think my first podium was the week after. I think I got double podium, and then it just all come together after that, really.
And what do you think it was that you found um, sort of most tricky to adjust to? Was it the sort of fact that tyre wear was suddenly taking into account? Because I mean, 25% races, most tracks were sort of only ending up going to be somewhere between 11 and 16 laps. So I
Yeah.
suppose it's still quite a bit longer than a 5 lap race. But was the tyre wear the hardest thing to get on top of? Do you think early stages?
No, I'd say the setup in general of the car. 'Cause I remember like the ballast when that used to be in the game and everything. That's what I struggled with most. But thankfully, a few of the guys I was racing with, people like Jacko, they were willing to help out. So that played a massive part. And just learning like how to race properly, to be honest, because in 5 lappers, no one really cares. So, whereas like some people take this seriously, and I still do. So, learning to race wheel to wheel properly, along with strategy and looking after your tires and stuff like that. I think that was the biggest learning curve I had, and I overcome it, and the rest is history, as they say.
Well, you didn't have to wait long until your first win. That came the next season, in season 15 at Belgium, actually. I know of all
Yeah.
tracks, quite a place to get your first victory. How did that feel when you were able to sort of secure that? Did that feel like, in your mind, the sort of start of things to come? Did you feel like you'd be able to sort of build from that, or at the moment were you just sort of enjoying it?
That season in general, I think I was teammates with Chris Johnson, I think, in the Ferrari, and I had good moments, so it was like I was waiting for it, if that makes sense. It wasn't a shock to me or anything. And the guys I was racing against at the time, to be fair, people like Mike Davies, uh, Ritson, you had Jamie, you had Josh. They were all like really fast guys, to be fair. So it was competitive, so it did feel good. But if I remember correctly, that the week I got my first win, I also won the race after as well. Two
Oh, a classic
races.
back to back.
Yeah, my first ever race win. Then the second one on the same week. And then I think the week after as well, I won Singapore in the wet. So I think two of them were wet because I used to love the wet conditions. So yeah, it was a good feeling, but it was just a case of waiting for it because I remember in Baku as well. Uh, fucking hell, this is a throwback. My brother used to race, and I remember leading the race, and he forgot to brake into turn one, and he was a lapped car, and he's took me out of the race from the lead,
Oh
and
no.
I messaged Dom saying just kick him, and he never raced again. So
Your own
yeah,
brother.
true story. Yeah, my own brother. Yeah, my own brother and my best mate from the school. Because they like, if I was in a party league racing in TGP, they'd be asking what I'm doing, and they were interested in joining. So I told them to message Dom, and yeah, they weren't very good, but I think Andy gives them a bit of stick on the commentary every now and then, but it was well deserved to be honest. So yeah,
Well,
but yeah,
you
that's a
you
throwback.
started off with a bit of a bang, didn't you? At the end of the day, you went straight in for, you know, taking out Dom in your first race, winning your first race in your second season, kicking your brother and your best mate from the league. That's quite a way to sort of start off your life in TGP2, isn't it?
At least I made it interesting. That's the way I look at
You certainly did. You certainly
it.
did. So, the good thing about your sort of progression from TGP2 was there was a very clear part of it. First season, season 14, picking up some podiums. Season 15, then going on to taking your first race win. And season 16, going straight into a title fight. And with all people, of your good friend Jamie Batter. So, before we sort of get on to the actual winning of the title, how did it feel to be in a title fight with him, of all people?
Um, that's a good question. Weird, if that makes sense, because I was used to like not being mid-pack, the odd win here and there. I knew I had the pace, but it didn't all come together just yet. So when it did come together, it was a weird feeling. Because there was, I think, Michael as well, and I think Ritzer made the move to TGP1 at that point. Then you had like Audio Gorilla, and I remember, was it Jess? I think her name was. She was really fast. So there was
Oh, yes.
a few people who, at the time, it was really competitive. So it was hard. Like you had to be focused, and I was practicing loads that season anyway. So just to keep on top of it all. Um, because when I realised I can win one race, I wanted to win them all. So I would practice just to try and improve my chances of achieving better things. So,
Mm.
but yeah, especially with Jamie, because I know every now and then he liked to throw the toys out of the pram. It was interesting. I enjoyed it a lot, to be fair.
Did you find that when he did that, that would sort of help spur you on a bit?
Oh yeah, when he lost his head, he lost his head. It got to a point where I used to race in parties with him, but I had to stop because like it'd just be so loud when things didn't go his way, and like you just lose concentration. Um, but when he did win, he'd rub it in your face. So it was like a you couldn't win sort of thing. If he didn't win, he had an excuse. When he won, he was in your face. Ha ha ha! Look at me. So, but I'm glad he's never won a title, and I've won one in TGP2, so I have the last laugh.
Well, there was There was plenty of stories going on around the time during that season that a good friend of Jamie Bubatta's, um, Jack Gooding, was trying to fix that season's title in one way or another. Is that
Yeah.
something that you ever heard of or caught wind of, or?
It was weird because I think it was Brazil. It was right right towards the back end of the season. It was Brazil. I can't remember where the other race was, and me and Jamie had a coming together in the race, which resulted in him DNFing, I think. And I think I went on to win the race, I think, or second. I was in the top two. Um, and he put a complaint into the stewards, and I still stand by it now because we still talk every now and then. Like is it the same lads from TGP, me, Ritson, Mike, Jamie, Jacko, we still all talk. So like
Okay.
sometimes we live back on like the golden days of league racing as we call it because it's like that's when like it was at its peak in my eyes. Um, I still stand by on it that I done nothing wrong, and he coming to me and the stewards agreed. And I remember the week after because at the time Jack Gooden was in our group chat as well. He messaged me and then I didn't reply in the group chat and he messaged me personally saying you deserved a qualifying ban for last week. I think you should start from the back. How was that? Me being stupid. I done that. I started from the back on purpose, and this was in the title deciding week.
Wow.
Hungary
And that's because
and Abu
you
Dhabi.
thought, or Jack had convinced you that you were in the wrong for an incident that the stewards deemed that Jacko was at fault for.
Yeah, and the worst bit is I didn't even know it was Jack Gooden racing for Jamie that week at Brazil. I only found out last year, believe it or not.
So,
Mike
so
Davies
Jack
told
was
me.
racing for in Jamie's account.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I only found out last year. Me and Mike were talking, and he told me, and I had no idea at all. All I know was Jack wasn't happy with the uh, the incident, because I think well from my eyes, from what I knew at the time, Jamie sent him a clip of what happened. That's what I
Mm.
thought happened. I didn't realise that he sent Jack Gooden his account details, and I was actually racing against Jack, not Jamie.
And what did they see was the benefit of doing that? I mean, surely there was a benefit of doing that, or they wouldn't have done it. So, what was the sort of the thinking behind that being the better option? Was it that Jack thought that he was a quicker driver than Jamie, or?
I think that and Jamie has no bottle at all. Like when it comes down to the nitty gritty stuff, when the pressure's on, he just self explodes. So, and Jack's won a title in TGP2 before beating Jamie himself. So, I don't know if that had a part to play. I genuinely don't know because I thought at the time we were all like good friends. We all spoke on a day to day basis. We'd play different games together. I had no idea that was going on. And when it all come out, I was just like, really? I just started laughing at my phone because, yeah, I had a fishy feeling when Jack Gooden said that I had to give myself a qualifying ban for the
Mm.
second to last race of the season.
Yeah, I bet.
Um, and I remember as well in Abu Dhabi, Jacko retired from the race and he was messaging the group chat because Jack Gooden asked for updates and Jamie undercut me. And it was literally like a Hamilton Verstappen, whoever won the race won the title, and we were first and
Okay,
second.
yeah.
And Jamie undercut me by about 2 or 3 seconds. And
During the
Jacko
pit
sent
stops.
that to, yeah, correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Jacko sent that to our group chat, and I remember Jack Gooden just writing in capitals, like celebrating. Um, I don't know if he had something against me or not. I genuinely don't
I
know
was gonna say, how
from
did
what
that
I knew
make? I
was
mean,
going on.
you at this moment in time, presumably thought, you're quite friendly. There's no, there's nothing that's sort of could cause Jack to have those sort of feelings towards you. So that must be quite harsh or hard for you to have read that.
Yeah, it was weird. Uh, but to be honest, I didn't really care. So I'd never met the guy in real life and stuff like that. So it's just I done what I needed to do. It's just it was I found it funny they tried to fix it in the way they did and they failed miserably. So
Well, it was all against. By the sounds of it, all odds were against you, and you pulled through, and took the title. Um, did you send a nice little message in capitals into the group after that?
I did, and they were all in a, well, I think it was Josh, Jamie, and Jack Gooden. They were all in a party together playing pro clubs, and Josh asked me to play after, so I joined because at this time I was only at sixth form at school,
Yeah.
so I had like a 12 o'clock start or something like that. So I joined, and Jack Gooden left straight away. So I was just saying like, okay, but obviously they never told me who was racing in Brazil or anything.
No,
Um, they never did. It just come out that Mike told me last year on Twitter
but
when we
that's
were
what
talking
happened.
about like TGP. Yeah, I'd never had any idea. I just find it funny to be honest, but
It's it's a shame,
must
isn't
have
it?
been
Really, when it comes
desperate.
to that. I mean, at the end of the day, by the sounds of it, you guys sounded like you were quite close. Just sounds a bit unnecessary more than anything, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
that
But
that was the weird part. I don't know if Jamie was desperate to win a title or Jack was desperate for me to not win, if that makes sense. I don't know which one because it doesn't add up as to why they've done it. Um, but yeah,
so
weird.
there was obviously a lot going on around this time, not only between, you know, TGP, Jack Gooding, and Jamie, um, but obviously there was then the creation of ILR that was sort of done around the same time. Um, so yeah, I'd like to come onto that a bit if I may. I mean, how was the sort of the creation of that? How did that sort of come about?
The original plan was for like our group, so it was me, Mike, Ritson, Josh, Jamie, Jack, Jacko, Mr. Crumpet, Dan Clark. Don't know if you remember
Oh
him.
yeah.
Uh, for Jack and Jamie to create this 50% league, but we do it on the side to TGP. That was the original plan. Um, but that
So it was
obviously
a
never
sort of like an
happened.
addition type thing.
Yeah, that would be
Mm.
like a weekend thing, and we had TGP in the week, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, but for some reason that never happened. All I know is it kicked off over something. To this day I still have no idea what. I've never had no bad blood towards Dom or anyone. So, I remember Jack Gooden. He said to me it was one or the other. He said if you race TGP, you don't race in our league. And at the
Oh
time
wow.
as well, I just got a job. So for I think Tuesdays for me was a bit questionable at the
Mm.
time, so I decided to race on Sundays. And yeah, but even then, I still had no bad blood towards Dom or any of the guys in TGP, whereas Jack Gooden and a few others, for some reason, it all kicked off a little bit. It was a bit strange. I
And did you
didn't
feel
really
a little
understand why.
conflicted at that time? Because obviously, you just taken your first TGP2 title, the chance to move into TGP1, which you eventually did do. Um, and meanwhile, you've got people you're close to saying, we're creating this league, we're doing this league. You've got to choose one or the other. That's puts you in quite a difficult and conflicting position, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was a strange one because I remember me and Ritson, we stayed on for a bit. Um, and Jack didn't like it, and then when I realised I don't have the time to commit to it for a full season, if that makes sense,
Mm.
then I'd rather give my seat up to someone who can. Because just coming off of winning a title, if I physically didn't have a chance to win another one, then I'd rather give the seat to someone else who would just enjoy themselves. Um, so I stuck to ILR. But yeah, it was a bit weird. I don't know. I genuinely don't know why. Because Ritson stayed on for a bit longer than me, and a few people got really funny about that. Um, especially when we were in parties and he was racing or whatnot. It was a bit strange. I never understood it because from what I see, that no one fell out. There was no explosion or anything like that. So it was all a bit strange.
Yeah, I can imagine it was, and I suppose while you were, as you said, trying to balance it and be competitive in both, you've got all of these um, you know, discussions, politics, however you want to put it, going on in the meantime as well. And it should be this sort of thing should be simple, shouldn't it? Yeah, it's just racing online.
Yeah, I think a few people got too big for their boots. Uh, the power got to their head a little bit,
And
and
and,
yeah, it
and
was just
ultimately,
weird.
before we come back to your sort of TGP one then successes and other sort of avenues in TGP, I mean, why was it you think that ILR didn't last, I suppose, so to speak, because it grew so quickly. I think did it have sort of 7 or 8 tiers? I think at one point it was massive.
Um, in the shortest of terms, Jack bit off more than he could chew.
Okay.
Um, it was successful when it was 3 or 4 tiers, but then it got something silly. Then it went to Xbox, and then it went to PC, and it was way too much. Yeah, the end, you could tell the end was near, just from like the environment itself, and yeah, Jack was fed up of, I think, too many like kids, if that makes sense, like 14,
Mm.
15-year-olds causing trouble. Um, and then it was mid-season, it just stopped. But at the time it stopped, I was blacklisted anyway, so I couldn't race anyway. Yeah,
What did you get blacklisted for?
I was involved in an incident that deemed to be on purpose when it wasn't,
Yeah,
um, and I just got blacklisted.
that must have been
Uh,
hard.
but I don't know if Jack Gooden knows this. I made a fake account and signed up again and just raced under that anyway. So it's like,
Oh, it's good stuff.
yeah.
It's good stuff. Did you ever win any races under that fake account?
I didn't know, unfortunately. I think it
Oh,
was
that would
only
have
like
been
the
funny.
last 3 or 4 races.
Oh,
So
that would have been good. That would have been good. Um, Okay, so sort of, it just sounds like it didn't really work out, and it's a shame. These sorts of leagues, they need to be going. They need to cater for plenty of people who want to do league racing, don't they?
on 100%. Yeah.
Um,
Um, but yeah, weird.
so let's get back to your TGP career for now. So you had success then pretty quickly moving into TGP one, I must say.
Yeah.
Um, as your first season, I think it was your first season stepping up, but it was season 26 anyway. You got your first podium in TGP1 at Abu Dhabi. Do you feel like you really came on quite a lot, quite quickly? Because obviously you just won a title on the same game in the lower tier, but now you're competing against very different drivers all of a sudden.
Yeah. Was that F1 2016?
That's what my notes say. So Dom, if you're
Yeah,
listening,
I think it was because it was Hungary the race before as well. Um, yeah, it was. I just remember everyone having penalties and I just kept it clean and I just gained all these positions. But yeah, that's when I realised I could mix it with the big boys, if that makes sense.
hmm.
Um, I knew I didn't have the pace to win races like I was in TGP2, but the odd podium I'd have been satisfied with 100%. But yeah, I don't think I lasted that long this season after, because that's when it all kicked off, and then it just went downhill from there.
Well, you're quite right. You did take a little bit of a break, coming back then on later games,
Yeah,
um, and you then won your first race in TGP1, then on what was F1 2019. What do
yeah.
you think it was about that game, or maybe just that season, that sort of put you in a better frame of mind for racing? Obviously, very different cars from F1 2016. But did that car just suit you a bit better, do you think?
I think it was a balance. Yeah, I was practicing so much, and I finally turned traction control off as well. Um,
You found yourself getting quite a bit of speed with that, did
yeah, I turned that off a few games. I think 2018, beginning of that game, so I was already up to speed with it and just practicing. And I think as well, the F1 games on the new generation cars at the time, with more downforce and more grip, it just suited the way I drove. So it just all come together. Because when I would play my PlayStation back then, it would be F1, just
Mm.
practicing. Because obviously, in the league I'm in now, it's a mystery calendar, but at the time back then, we knew what we had to practice for, so I'll just be doing that, to be honest.
And that was sort of how you
All
sort of
come
found
together,
yourself
yeah.
starting with it. Yeah,
Yeah, all
yeah.
come together.
And so then sort of taking the step as you did, um, you then moved into Alfa Romeo, I think it was, your teammate
Yeah,
being Khalifa at the time. Did you find
yeah.
yourself working quite well with him as a teammate? Was he a good sort of companion, someone who worked well with you, quick driver, but not sort of someone who's going to be challenging you too much at the very front, I suppose?
100%. And with Khalifa as well, we were really good friends. Like we've met in real life before as well. So I think that played a part. Like the respect between us was there. Whereas with other people, when you're teammates and stuff, you don't really care.
Mm.
So like collectively, that was a good pairing for me and for him. I'd say I had the edge on him pace wise, but as a team, we worked really well, and that proved that season. So we clean swept the championships and won a load of races together. So it was successful.
Well, that season 33 obviously was the season that you took the championship,
Yeah.
fighting against Fishy for the title. How did you find him as a sort of competitor? Did you have many sort of on track moments together where you were battling, or?
The main one was Suzuka, yeah. Um, we collided every now and then, but Suzuka was the bad one. I remember overtaking him for the lead, and he just swiped me and put me in the water, and nothing got done about it. I was fuming, but he was fair. He was firm but fair, um, and that's the way it should be. Like, I don't expect to be let through. I've got to
No.
work for it, but at the same time, I don't be on the dirty side, which he wasn't, to be fair. The odd coming together, but that happens, so it didn't really bother me. But yeah, it was good fun.
And do you feel like you did? I mean, obviously, I know you won the title, but do you feel like that season went to plan, or was there anything that you could have done better, different, that perhaps would have made it easier, or?
I think that season I lost a few races to track limits, um, which is something that I've always tried to improve on. But other than that, it was pretty perfect. Yeah, we won the constructors and I won the drivers' championship, so it was a good season. But the odd race I lost to track limits, which obviously at the time's not ideal. So, but looking back, it didn't really affect anything. So all went to plan. Like I come back with the mindset of I want to win the title, which I managed to do so. So yeah,
Many nerves in
thumbs
that
up for
final
me.
night?
No, to be honest, I remember it clear as day, Spa and Abu Dhabi. So I just knew qualifying would count. So I think Phil Bardwell as well got pole in Spa, I think, and then he crashed out from the lead.
That's not a
So
surprise.
and then I think that crash caused Fishy to DNF as well at Pujon, I think. Um, but there was no nerves, no, because I knew I had. I think I was behind on points, but I knew I had pace and pocket over Fishy. So, and it was two tracks that really suited me. So, just went into it, just giving my best as always, and thankfully I managed to pull through in the end.
Well, it was that was then the last season that we did on F1 2019. We then moved to F1 2020 um, on the following season. So you were then third in season 34, fourth in season 35. Why don't you think you were, well, long story short, why don't you think you were as quick on that game?
The first season on F1 2020 was the most frustrating season I have ever had league racing. Only because the first 2 weeks I won both races, and at that point I was unbelievably fast.
Mm.
I think I was on pole by over half a second in both races, Australia and Bahrain. And Australia, I had 6 seconds worth of penalties and the safety car come out on lap 11 of 16, and I managed to make up 6 seconds on everyone in 5 laps to win the
Wow.
race by just under a tenth. Then Bahrain, I won the race by like 10 seconds. and everyone was like, "Oh, the season's over. The season's over, and we're 1 week in." Then it just went downhill from there. I don't even know what happened, to be honest. Um, because I was still practicing. I wasn't practicing as much because when the game first came out, it was obviously locked down. Um,
Mm.
so I'd be at home all day, like nothing better to do. So, and as you do when a new game comes out, you tend to play it loads. And I got up to pace really quickly. But yeah, after that, it just went all downhill. Then you had Matt Tibos finding speed, you had Kyle come out of nowhere, people like that. And it was frustrating because looking back, that season, I should have been back-to-back champion.
You reckon?
That didn't happen. Yeah, I do reckon looking back, um, like the mistakes as well, and that's going back to the whole losing races due to time penalties happened at China. It happened at Silverstone. I think it happened at Monza as well. I think it was just frustrating. Looking back, that should have been another title, but yeah, wasn't meant to be. I can't remember the season after as well. That was Softy's first season. I just struggled so badly.
Well, that's
Uh,
just what I was about to come on to, actually, because you had a couple of incidents with Softy on that
yes,
game, which included incidents in Belgium and Great Britain. Um, the both instances, the stewards said you were okay, but
yeah,
that's very much not the opinion that Softy had. How did you
yeah.
find racing against him as a driver?
Um, that's a good question. I enjoyed him at the same time. I hated it. He was very fast, but when Dom told me how much he practiced, I'm not surprised he was that fast. I, Dom told me something stupid. I think it was like 8 hours worth in one day he done. I
Well,
think Dom told me for 1 week of racing. But yeah, we come together a few times. Spa, I'm not surprised. Oh, sorry, I was surprised with what the steward said. I thought I was going to get a penalty for that. It was a bit naughty for me, but you know,
was
you
this
got to
around
do
the
what you got to
outside
do.
at um I can't remember where it was now. It was around the outside of that hairpin, wasn't it? I think. Is that incident?
Um, I think it was no name. I
Oh, that was it. That was it. Yes,
Yeah, I was on the
I remember
inside,
commentating
and
on that
or was
race.
I on the outside? I can't remember, but we've
I
come
think you were
together,
on
and
the outside.
I think I was, and I turned in, and yeah, he's just gone spinning, and I was very shocked I didn't get penalised. But Softy was another one, firm but fair. But he didn't like it when I was firm. He just expected me to wave him past, which I'll never do. So yeah, he wasn't dirty, but when things didn't go his way, he was another one. He's like Jamie Barter. He would throw a tantrum. Um, but yeah, he deserved all the race wins and titles and stuff just because he was that good. So, but I
Is
think,
he someone that despite the sort of incidents, that because of his sort of ability and skill, that you did actually enjoy coming up against?
oh yeah, you want to race the best. And the start of the season, I was nowhere near him, and as the season grew on, I got closer and closer and closer to the point we were wheel to wheel on track every now and then, fighting
Mm.
for race wins. So yeah, it was enjoyable, but at the same time, like with him moaning about stupid little things when things don't go his way or we come together, that's when it got annoying. And it was annoying how fast he was as well, to be fair. Um, but no, it was good. It was good.
It's the fact that he's fast and consistent that's so annoying, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, you never see him have a bad race,
No.
and he just always managed to get a result no matter what happened. Like those 2 times I spun him round, he still finished on the podium both races. So yeah, it's just very good. I can't say nothing else. Like the stats speak for themselves, so he deserves it all.
And then one of your most recent forays with TGP was actually the TGP2 Race of Champions,
Yes,
which you won and actually
I did.
beat
Yes.
someone who's become quite an esports legend. Certainly a TGP legend. Isaac, of course.
Yeah,
Um, how did it feel doing that? That's quite a win.
that was good fun. 'Cause I think that was a 50% race if I remember correctly at
It was, yeah,
Silverstone.
around
Yeah,
Silverstone.
that was good fun. In quali, I was a bit behind, but when the race started, especially on the soft tyre, I managed to stay within the 1 second window the whole of the first stint. And I remember he tried dummying me into the pits, but I was pitting anyway, so it didn't work out for him, and I managed to undercut him. And then trying to fend him off for a few laps was the pressure was on. You could tell I was draining my battery just to try and keep him behind, which at the time wasn't the smartest thing to do. And then I just remember through Maggots and Beckett's, the run he got on me was insane. Like you could tell he knew how to drive. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, he's gone for the move down the inside, and I've just hung it round the outside. I don't know how I managed to do that still. I watch it back every now and then now because I think there's a reel on the Twitter page, I think, of TGP um, with Andy and Dan commentating, I think. So yeah, and then unfortunately, I held on to the position, but unfortunately, I got a bit sideways through the last chicane, and he tapped the back of me and broke his wing. And from that moment on, I knew I won the race. It was just I didn't want to win it in that way.
No,
I'd rather have had a long race fight with him, but yeah,
you can't
neither to
choose how you
blame.
win,
So it
can
was
you?
just nah, exactly that, just an unfortunate incident. So but it was good fun, especially with a big name like that. It was a good achievement. I was proud of myself.
Well, understandably, I'd say. I mean, I've took part in that race, and I think I spent most of the time facing the wrong way. So, um, it's definitely a good result for your good self. Um, so, so that was a lot, as we said, last foray in TGP. So, what's life been holding you since TGP? Then you've been competing in Jacko Car, I think. Any other leagues as well, or?
No, just Jacko Car. I have no plans to race elsewhere either. If my Tuesdays come free again, which they should do later this year, and if there's space, TGP is something I wouldn't mind getting involved in again. But I wouldn't race elsewhere. I don't know why. I still enjoy league racing, but yeah, it's just I see people do 5 or 6 leagues a week, and I'm just like, how the hell do they do that? So,
It's a lot of
but
time.
looking in, yeah, it is 100%, and they practice every single race they have coming up. So, but looking into the future now, I know Jackacar's ending later this year. If there is space on a Tuesday, and Dom approves of it, hopefully I can get back racing in TGP. Fingers crossed.
Well, we'd certainly love to have you back. Um, it's you've a driver that's got plenty of history and plenty of stories and plenty of success, and they're the sort of drivers that we always want to have competing. Well, Corey, this pretty much brings us almost to the end of our discussion, but We're gonna end this as we usually do on these episodes with a few quick fire questions, if we may.
Quick
Um,
fire. Okay, let's do it.
yeah, it's we try and make it quick fire, but it never usually ends up being. Um, first things first, what's your favourite track to race on? Any game?
Any game. Um, Malaysia, F1
Great shout.
2016.
Great shout. And then what's your least favourite?
Ooh, Monaco.
Oh, controversial. Okay.
Just- I don't know what it is, I just can't get to grips with it. No matter how much I practice, there's always a mistake in me. So yeah, then all
That's
the practice goes down the drain.
that's fair enough. Now, I've got some. I enjoy these next two questions, so I'm going to enjoy asking them to you, considering how this um, episode has gone thus far. Who's your favourite driver to race against?
To race against, ooh, Michael Davis.
Oh, okay. Didn't expect that.
That's the glory days, and the respect was there, so it was good fun.
And Therefore, who is your least favourite driver to race against?
Ooh, Aiden.
Oh, okay, yes. And why is
Yeah,
that?
we've just had come-ins together where we're both stubborn, so neither yield or nothing like that, so it just ends in disaster. And then we both like to gob it off after the race to each other, so Aiden for sure.
And last but not least, if TGP was to do a league on any game at all, what
Yeah.
would you like to see TGP do a league in?
Other than F1,
Could be F1, could be anything else. It can be any game.
ooh, oh, that's a great question.
Thank you.
Um, a retro F1 league,
Oh, that would be
throwback
good
to
fun.
F1 2016, but
Okay.
with a shortened calendar.
Yes,
That would be ideal. That would be
that would
something I'll
be
sign up to tomorrow.
that would be the ideal one. That's good to know. That's good to know. Well, Corey, this has been great fun. Thank you very much for joining us. Actually,
Thank you
we've
for
had some
having
good
me.
stories to share, and well, we may very well see you on track in TGP again in the future. Hopefully, that we will. Have a word with work. Get those Tuesday nights free.
I will do, because I have unfinished business, so
That's what we like to hear.
so
Anyway, you have a good evening, and we'll speak to you soon.
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Take care.
So that brings us to the end of another series of TGP Has a Podcast. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Corey. That was certainly one of my more interesting chats I've had with our various TGP guests over the series. But later on in the year, we will be back for a slightly different series talking about some slightly different topics. However, the people you'll be hearing at the other end of the microphone will be familiar voices, so there certainly won't be too much change in that regard. But for now, at least, it leaves me to say thank you and goodbye.